Hello everybody, this is the TS80, and many of you might be familiar with the TS100. I have one, I've been using one for a while, and this is either the successor, or it's another option, or something that maybe you might be interested in because it's less expensive, or the form factor is slightly different, and that's what kind of sticks out the most for me. So as I talk about this, the main thing that I'm looking for as a TS100 owner is the fact that this one is different, and I will show you those differences. So we'll start with that. The TS100 is fairly, I would say it's, what is it, about 10 millimeters longer than the 80, and it also has an end that you have to unscrew in order to get it out. The TS80, they're just using a little jack or plug like that, if I can get the camera to focus there on it. Looks like an audio jack a little bit. So that just plugs in and plugs out. I haven't had any problems with it falling out or anything like that. So that's an interesting feature. And also, if you take a look, maybe the end will tell us the most about this, that it's got this hump in it. It's not circular. It's kind of oval shaped. And that's one of the things that bothered me about this particular unit using it is sometimes you get a little bit of solder. You just want to dab some on somewhere, and you put the solder on, it rotates down, or it moves out of your line, so then you have to rotate this over, so now you're holding it with that hump kind of upside down, whereas that is not an issue with the 80. It's round all the way around. You can spin it around in your hand real easy. I always felt I had to kind of grab a hold of this one and twist it a little bit. So that's another feature. Outside of that, as far as I could tell, and from the specs, they're really the same. The LED, or the display on the front, it's the same size. If I can get those in the light just right, you'll be able to tell that they're the same size. One's not bigger than the other. This one has buttons like this versus, clickable buttons here on the front. It's not a rocker. They're separate buttons, but they kind of made the button assembly all one little section or piece. Much like the TS100, you can touch down, here on the 100 and you'll be fine. And on the 80, this area, this silver area down here is fine. Then the heat starts to build up as you get down here towards your end. I do think the stock end for the TS80 is a little bit more pointed than it is for the 100, and in micros, that's a good thing. So you have a little bit of a finer point to work with there. That's quite fine in my opinion right there. Another feature that if you're not familiar with the TS100, a big draw to it is the fact that you really don't have to maintain power for it. You can just leave it plugged in. When you need it, you pick it up, it wakes up, and then you hit a button, and then it heats up to your preset or defined temperature. It's got a mass of settings in there that you can change using the buttons. Everything from different times to where it goes to a lower heat, or it turns itself off. There's also custom firmware that you can put on there. Oh, and I should mention the TS80 uses a USB Type-C cable, which I had to go acquire because I bought the kit that just came with the soldering iron. It didn't come with the cable or anything else. So I went out and bought myself a fairly lengthy USB cable. It's Type-C, as you see there. It was $6. I think I got that from Walgreens. And then I also had to go out and buy myself a QC3 or Quick Charge 3 power brick to be using at the house. I got this off of Amazon. You can buy the TS80 with the cable and the power brick already, and I would suggest that because it will save you money long term. You won't have to go out to Amazon like I did and buy these things individually. It'll all come in the kit, and it does look like in the kit the power adapter does have a US plug, so you don't have to worry about having that EU plug to everything else. But in my case, this is what I use, so if you happen to end up with one like this, you can I'll link down below this. I think it was $9, so that starts to boost the kit cost, because I believe this comes in at $72 by itself. Then you buy a cable for another $8 or $9, then you buy a power brick for $8 or $9. The $80 that you spend to get those things, I think is well worth it, because it only costs you $8 to get all of them, and I spent twice that sourcing them myself. So if you trust those add-ons, I think it's a pretty good thing to look forward to. Make your soldering kit complete. I'm going to plug one in. I'm actually going to put it here on the desk, and I'm going to plug one in so I can video record that, so you can see, just if you're not familiar with these, you can see why it is people are moving to this. It's a great field charger, very small. You can buy power adapters for it, so you can plug in a battery and you can go run and charge. At least I think they're available. I know they're available for the TS100. They're either available now or they'll be available surely right around the corner. But as far as the power brick goes, if you don't don't have one that's Quick Charge 3 compliant, it won't work. I tried a bunch of the stuff I had around, relatively new cell phone chargers, and it will power it up, but immediately what it says is low volt, and then it eventually shuts off. So you'll need to make sure it's Quick Charge 3 compatible, your power adapter. So your power bank, if you want to use it at the field, it also is going to need to be Quick Charge 3 compatible. I hope I'm making that very, very clear, because it's something I didn't know initially, and I couldn't figure out, why is it not powering up? And it said low voltage all the time. Durr. So here we go. We're going to power it up. This is where you're at. You want to heat the thing up. You press the button. Look at it go. This is another feature that people really like, is it gets hot fast. Now I've got mine set to 380 degrees Celsius. That's what I've been using for the longest time when it comes to soldering with my TS100. So I set this to this as well. I think it'll take about 40 seconds to get to the 380 degrees, but you guys can correct me by the timeline in the video here. But that is really nice because you don't have to spend a lot of time waiting for it. Oh, it didn't go up to my preset. Well, it got to 300 degrees. Why didn't that stick? Wrong way. That's a little backwards. Why didn't that stick? But you get the point. It heats up really quickly. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to just set it down. I want it to let it to go to a low power state so I can show you that real quickly without spending a lot of your time. Okay, I've now waited for it to cool all the way down and to power itself off because I wanted to show you this little bit. So I've had to be very careful not to bump the desk as well because these things can be quite sensitive. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bump the desk here a little bit. This is an annoyance, but you can change this in the settings. Oh, this one didn't turn on. They normally turn on. Let me try again. My TS100 over there turned on, but the TS80 didn't. Anywho, so I used a little bit of my glue. You can see there that I moved it. It woke up. So it wakes up, you push the button, and it starts heating up. That's really the beauty of this. I'm hesitant to call it, but I don't have a better term. It's kind of a smart iron. And for me, This is really, really great. I get interrupted all the time. My kids come down, they need some help with something, or I hear some yelling, or I've been working on a build, and all of a sudden now, oh geez, I forgot it's, you know, it's lunchtime, or it's dinner time, or we've got to run to a swim meet, or, you know, whatever. Somebody's going over to somebody's house, so I have to quickly shut down. And I don't worry about it with this one, versus my old plug-in one, I always worried about it. I always worried I was going to move something, and it was going to roll off the desk and be hot, and I was always securing it. I was taping it down to my desk because it didn't have a holder. Now, sure, you can spend a couple $100 and really get a top-of-the-line soldering iron. I've never owned one, so I don't know if there's a benefit to that. But this thing, with the cable, with an adapter, it's 80 bucks. And they state on the Banggood website that this is going to also have additional tips that you can get, and they're supposed to be available sometime this month. I think they put the 15th. Well, as I'm recording this, it's already past the 15th, so we'll see how long it takes them to get to adding other ends. But for micro guys, I think this end right here will be just fine for the short run, unless you have some bigger pieces that you're going to try to solder together. So that's a fairly quick rundown. Hopefully I didn't take too much of your time. If you're looking for a soldering iron and you want to upgrade from one, or you don't like what you've currently got, you might want to give this a look at least to investigate. But it's going to replace my TS100, I think, just because it's round. All right, if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please leave those in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.